Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks and welcome to the Daily AI Show Live. Today is November 4th, 2025. I'm joined by Ann and Beth, who's on
Oh,
there, and Brian as well. And then I'm Brian, and I think we have Karl come in maybe a little bit later. Welcome in. Glad you're here. So today we're going to be, diving into some of the news topics, a little bit of carryover from yesterday, because Beth and I don't think we actually got to all the stuff we're talking about. And there's been some additional add-ons to things like the AI commercials that I wanted to share on there as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit later. One of the things I know we're going to talk about is GPT-5. Now, I've been personally ranting about GPT-5 and saying how much I dislike it for a while now, but I will tell you, and we'll talk about this more later. I was on with my coworkers yesterday, and I will say, shocked to hear them basically parrot it back to me and go, "Yeah, us too." I thought it was just more me from the builder side and not the end user side, but that is not the case. So I'll be curious to hear Ann and Beth what you guys think, and if Karl's here, we'll ask him as well. But I could probably start ranting now and go for a straight hour. I've also I will tell you both. I've had a truly miserable morning that started at about my time on East Coast, about 5:30, with trying to build a solution for a client. And it's a custom GPT. It should not be anything that's difficult, but man, I think they've changed something with the way they factor in. Have you guys noticed that there's a change with uploaded files and how they kind of disappear when you say it?
hmm
Well, I think that is not in, and this is not a 5 problem, so I won't put it in that bucket later. This is like a 4.0 problem too. It has messed with my prompting on how I use wake words and trigger words to
hmm
make it easier for the user. And so it's using some sort of additional logic. Anyway, quite literally 3 hours of something that probably should have been an hour's worth of work this morning, and I'm still stuck on it, and having to tell the client like I'm stuck, which always is the
Right.
one thing to be stuck and silent about it. It's another when the client's like, "What's
What's
going on?"
happening? I
Yeah.
I I
It,
have noticed that I can't verify what the files say. I used to be able to
yeah.
click on it, and I can in if it's a gem, I can click
Yep.
on it and I can see what the file says because I have had the "What do your instructions say? Are you supposed to put words in this image?" And it gave me back instructions that said it should put words in the image, and I was like,
Yeah.
"No,
Now,
let me verify that file, and are you" right? It overwrites its own instructions if you have it generate the instructions. Is it overwriting the files? Because I am not with that. No. No,
I
it's not.
I would normally say that's a 5 problem. Five gets a little too handsy. I think that's the way I like to explain 5. Is it
Mhm.
likes to really like to get in there, throw an arm around where it doesn't belong. Just keep your hands to yourself. 5, and not a fan. But we can talk about that later. Maybe we'll get into some news here. But yes, that all the other stuff with prompting. So, as things go in the world of AI, sometimes the most frustrating thing is when OpenAI makes a small tweak, or Gemini or any of them make a small tweak on their end that seemingly probably doesn't feel like much, but it causes downstream effects for
Yep.
lots and lots of devs. And that has been something that's been problematic since day one, is that as a developer, I don't get a really clear guidelines and understanding about when those things change, and so I can't predict them. I can't plan ahead for them.
Right.
And in my case, at least, I'm now talking about hundreds of deployed just custom GPTs among many former and current clients. And so this has real world implications. I mean,
Mhm.
straight to the client and the way that scaled works and everything else. So anyway, one of the things I'll just kick it off with a really quick story, and then I'll throw it to you guys. But I did see this, Beth, and you and I were talking. Oh shoot, where did I go with it? You and I were talking yesterday about Gemini's commercial using AI and how they were like, yeah, it's AI. And I was kind of like paraphrasing what one of their folks said. And he's like, I think people are sort of over indexing on whether it's AI or not, and kind of just being like, we're going to use this for some commercials. We're not. And I didn't know this yesterday, but when we were talking, we mentioned the Coca-Cola commercial last year. Well, they used AI again this year, and probably not surprising, Beth, they also worked around the uncanny valley by
Yep.
Doing a few things. There was some stuff in here saying like the wheels look like they're moving a little bit more like down the road versus just sliding or skidding down the road. And also they used a lot of different animals
Mm-hmm.
where us as the viewer is not really probably going to care whether it looks like the most perfect style of well, all of they have a lot of seals and all sorts of animals in it. So I thought I'd just play just a hair of it. Now yesterday this it skipped and stuttered. We'll see if it does any better today, but I'll just play a little bit of this really quick so you guys can see it, and then yeah, we can move on. Can you hear the sound? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Holidays are coming, 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 holidays are coming. 'Tis the season, watch out, look around, something's coming, coming to town, something magic in the night. Can you see it shining bright? Always Coca-Cola. Holidays refreshments, what we bring. 'Tis the season, it's always a real thing. Holidays are coming, holidays are
I'll pause it there. At the very end here, lots of different animals, very much so in the animation style, not supposed to be photorealistic. It is interesting if you watch it with, I think, a keen eye. The levels of animation seem to move. There's not a
Yes.
real consistent style throughout all the, like if you look at the polar bears, it looks like, well, that's one generated way. But then if you look at the squirrels that actually have, I took it off the screen and freeze framed, I would say, well, that's a still an animation, but like clearly, but it has a more realistic fur and
Right.
looking. And so there's this like disconnect. But this goes back in, you weren't here, but this is what Beth and I were talking about yesterday, which is does we're looking at it that way, but does the end viewer care? And this is exactly what we were talking about yesterday with Gemini. It's like, does it serve its purpose? Does it make you feel the feels? Holidays are coming, Coca-Cola's part of it, right? Like, all right, my daughter would be all over this. I think it's too early. But that's, it makes you feel the feels, and you walk away 30 seconds later and you go, it was a fun commercial. I like seeing all the animals in it. My kid likes seeing all the animals in it. That's the end of that kind of discussion, not like, well, the animation this way or that way. So just another example. We were talking about this yesterday with the Google one, because they got around the uncanny valley by having Tom the turkey, and he's trying to find a getaway, and he uses AI mode and on Google or Gemini to get away from Thanksgiving. And so go take a vacation. But same thing. Clearly animation, not trying to be an uncanny valley, no people in it. This one, if you notice, the people that are in it are just basically blurs in the far distance, right? They didn't even try. They didn't even try. They're like, we're not. We'll show Santa, but that's sort of your Rockefeller Santa, so that's also animated.
Right.
So what's interesting about this more than anything else is just we're watching in real time. If we just freeze frame, like right now, we're watching in real time marketing agencies, companies figure out how to work around the inherent current problems of AI. And they're doing it in front of us. They're showing us their work. In fact, the person who put this together didn't disclose from Coke how much less it cost, but we know it did. He said, normally we would start scouting out this a year ahead of time. Now it takes a month.
So it's interesting because I also saw an ad, and it's much more 3D animated than that. So the animals are not realistic at all. So maybe they're split testing, because that's very cool.
Yeah. I would be. It says before we were doing all the shooting and all the standard processes for a project, we would start a year in advance. Arroyo said, now we can get it done in around a month.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about that. He's by the way, Manolo Arroyo is the chief marketing officer at Coca-Cola, or maybe at a division of Coke. I'm not sure, but either way, that's a pretty high thing. So anyway, that's sort of a leftover from yesterday that I just wanted to bring up, because I totally had missed, Beth, yesterday that we had the Coca-Cola. Maybe it came out yesterday. I don't know.
I don't know. 16 hours is on this tweet.
Okay.
And the quote that I see is the company says they used even fewer people to make it, right? So that's just like all it's going to say. We need to keep moving forward. This is a quote, pushing the envelope. The genie is out of the bottle and you're not going to put it back in.
Yeah.
And quick side note, Beth, just because I'm noticing that no chat came through. Is that because of the way we set it up? I'm just realizing there's nobody in our chat. So
Jude Simmons is in our chat, but it may
Oh.
not be showing to you.
He's
That
not.
may be because it's not.
Okay.
This is
Just
the
want-
way it's set up. I will
just wanna
check
make
all
sure.
those things. Luckily, I set up 2 weeks just to learn that it was perhaps not going well. So
This is the first time I've seen that happen, but I just want to make sure. I mean, we are live, so I just want to make sure we're on there. Okay,
and welcome
so
to all our live folks. Pop stuff in the chat if you want.
yeah, that'd be great. So I don't know, Beth, and what do you guys got as far as like some news stories that you're interested about, and we'll kind of run around on those for a little bit.
So I have one, and it is that a court case was decided in the UK, a copyright case, and it was decided that they were suing Stability AI, and it was decided that they sorry, there's a little voice in my head that said I just joined the thing. That's because Carl's on his way in. Just distracted me for a little bit. And hey, Andy's here. And hi, Jeff. So the court case, copyright in the UK is different than copyright here. It was the suit was against Stability AI because Stability AI seemed to be able to create images that looked like they were copyright, right? Had been traded on copyright material. And the other thing that's interesting about this is that the copyright in the US, we have fair use. So we have some circumstances under which copyright can be infringed upon or it's not considered infringement. In the UK, their stuff is different. But they did come back and say no, because the training data doesn't then lead to a storage of exact replicas. It's not an infringement. But this court case was brought a while ago when image generators were still generating images that looked like they had the logo on, right? Like you could generate an image, and I think actually it was Getty. You can generate an image that had the Getty logo that looked like it was. That's copyright infringement. You can't add somebody else's brand on your image because you're copywriting. The infringement is on their brand that they own, but the image likeness, it can only be the exact replica. So I think we'll see how far this goes. Again, this is a UK decision. It's not precedent for our courts in the US. But it's an interesting thing. So it was the branding was the narrow win, but it was a blow, another sign of how courts are going to interpret the ways that AI can do things that are like something but not exact. Now, this doesn't include Sora, which can put you in the movie if you want to be. Or make a new movie with those copyrighted characters. Because this was brought in a different time and in a different circumstance. But interesting.
For sure, it's interesting.
A PSA on that, in case folks in the chat don't know, and folks who are watching this later, is that if you use AI to create your logo for your company, it's not it's not copyrightable, which means like all good if you have if you have some little sell candles or something, but if your startup pops off and you want your logo and other people start kind of like infringing on that, it's important to understand exactly how much AI is allowed in your logo versus does it have to be completely of you, from you, your idea and your art and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's important and something that I would never know if I didn't hang around with Anne McCracken, Beth, who is an attorney and does this for a living. And
how is it enforceable? I'm curious. Like, do you know, Anna? Like, how is that enforceable? Like, okay, let's just say I created a logo and it pops off, and maybe I didn't make any changes, which is my first question, or maybe I made, to your point, less than 10% changes from the AI, but I did put some human creativity into it. Number one, how do they know it was AI created to begin with? I mean, because we know you can wipe out metadata, right? And, different pixels and stuff. But number two, like, do you know, or have you heard, like, if I do change 10% of that, is it now mine and not AI?
It's 10% yours.
Yeah, but how do you know?
Yeah.
How does anybody know?
You
okay,
own that it's
so here's
raspberry
how-
colored now.
So
Go,
if-
Ryan.
Yeah. If somebody were to challenge it, they're like, oh, no, that's my logo. And you're like, no, it's mine.
Mm.
I learned from Liz Grennan a couple years ago at Maycon that she was like, you need to save all your chats, period, end of discussion. Because what will come out is your chats. So they'll go through that. But honestly, how many things are we seeing where there's no, like, how are these things enforceable? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
It's not enforceable, but it's not enforceable on you, right? You can make your logo, you can blow up big. When somebody does a copycat website and you want to say, that's my business, that's my logo, now you can't enforce it.
Right. Oh,
But-
yeah, right.
Because it's not copyrightable as the logo. Like,
Yes.
it's the same thing. Like, if you write a book with AI, right? If you have a ChatGPT wrote a book with you, you published it, people are buying it on Amazon. That's fine. You can make money with that. If somebody copies it and sells it as theirs, have to prove that you wrote it and AI didn't, because in the US, copyright is something that's held by a human who engaged in a creative act.
I guess, I mean, and if we don't know it sounds like you guys know way more about this than I do. I guess I'm confused with that, Beth, and Karl, jump in if you know better here too. If I create a website and I create a logo and I used AI and that's that, and then somebody else says, oh, no, that's my logo, and I go, no, that's my logo, wouldn't even copyright part of that be who has used it earlier? I mean, there's ways to know on websites and stuff like that who is using the most earliest version of that logo. And so I find that it would be, I get what you're saying, Beth, like, no, the onus is on me to prove that it's mine to begin with, not on them that they're cheating or stealing, right? Or however we look at it. So, like, I get that, but also, wouldn't I be able to do that by saying, well, here's either, I guess, the chats, to your point, Ann, but here's me using that logo that I iterated on and I use my creative efforts with AI to do, but it's also been on the website since, I don't know, May of 2025. Isn't that proof? I mean, I felt like that was already a thing that existed. So yeah, I know. Ann's like, I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know either. I don't know either.
Yeah, it's an example of how things just don't make sense right now. Because with your logic, this is the way it's always been. I have a gap in my knowledge about how did that change. I'm going to ask our friend Ann McCracken.
Yeah,
she walks us through, like, if it's this much AI, that much AI,
Really?
that much AI. So anytime Ann McCracken is speaking, you need to be there.
Yeah. Ooh, speaking of, can we drop a little thing? Is Ann McCracken speaking next week at the
Yes, she
Create
is.
2025 conference?
Yes.
You want to say a little bit about that? Because then I
Yes.
won't forget.
So, due to our unfavorable political climate, all of our women in the She Leads AI community who live outside the US, which is 44% of them, will not come to the United States. Not one single person, even after committing. And so we're just going to do the whole conference again and do it virtual. So November 10th and 11th, we're taking the in-person Create conference and making it into a virtual experience. And everybody will be able to share in it. We'll have a private channel for everybody to connect, make friends, do networking, all that kind of good stuff that we were able to do in person. And we know it's not exactly the same, but it's as close as we can get to it. We're going to definitely share some of the good vibes. November 10th and 11th, and we cover most time zones.
And Anne McCracken gave an amazing talk. And that'll be repeated.
So just for my clarification on this, so in case everybody else has this question too, you used a different word, but this was the She Leads AI conference that was in person in Vegas recently, correct?
Salt Lake, yes.
Salt Lake, I'm sorry. And then and then this is the virtual
version of the conference.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Where can people go to find out about that? SheLeadsAI.com?
Just go to SheLeadsAI.ai, and that's where you'll branch off into conference land.
Okay.
Cool. So there's other conversations. If it looks substantially similar to copyrighted material, it'll come down to credibility. Can various things be considered copyright? Again, in the US, the copyright is literally written that is a human created it. And there is a lot of discussion about what is considered human creation. And so far in court cases, I generated it, I described it, and it created it is not considered copyrightable. That's not enough of a human act. I think that'll shift, because if I take a photograph and I looked at it and I clicked a button, that is my copyright. So I think this will shift, but in current law.
Yeah, I would love to see how that all plays out, because I would think anybody would have a argument to say, well, hold on a second. So people's copyrights are null and void who used Photoshop 5 years ago, but it helped them create the shapes. It helped them create, because you're going to say like, yeah, but hold on, Brian, that wasn't creativity and AI doing that. And I would push back and go, but it was some early form of help me get this done.
But it wasn't AI. Yep.
Yeah, but who cares?
The law. The actual copyright law.
AI is just a tool to help me. Unless you're going to sit up there and say that AI is different than a tool to help get work done. It's an efficiency tool to help work get done. Efficiency in the sense of, it would have taken me a long time to trace that on a piece of paper, but now I don't have to, because I have AI that can help me do that. That's where I get a little confused with this. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know this.
It's very confusing.
You're making the point. I'm just telling you what I have heard every AI IP attorney say in this, which is, if you used AI to do it, save all of your information, but currently it is not protected.
Well, you're the messenger, also, Beth, so I'm coming after you.
Canva also has in their terms of agreement, if you create your logo using Canva, like if you use their common element tools, that's also not copyrightable. You can make your logo that way, but you don't own it.
All right.
It's a thing.
All right. I mean, this is important for people to know. So I'm glad we're talking about it, because if you were in that space, or you're building with AI and you're thinking this is all well and good, sounds like there's more effort and work. Because my thing would be too, well, what if I use vibe coding to do all the coding for my site? Where does that end? Do I own none of that too, because I didn't write the code by hand? And that's where I'm saying, like, where does that end? Because what is enforceable, what isn't, if I'm using a tool to help me do it? And I only say that not to be like combative, but to say to people like, yeah, maybe you have to be more careful with this.
This is interesting, because code, like real dev code, often is shared, right? Like people use snippets of code that are owned by other people all the time, or given to like common. That's what you do when you're going to code. You're like, hey, has somebody already solved this? In which case, I'm just going to grab that. Is that something that I can do? So it's a little bit of a different thing, because code was very much like, once you get into big corporate, it's like, no, we have trade secrets here. But even the trade secrets have things embedded in them that are.
And I would have thought, Beth, that like somebody who writes beautiful, for lack of a better term, beautiful code is a form of creative writing. If somebody writes,
Absolutely.
if the experts who know what they're talking about, which is not me, looked at 10 pages, 20 pages, 100 pages of JSON, right, and said, that's a work of art. I can't go like that. That has got no errors in it. We can't find fault with this code. Somebody might frame that and put on a wall if they valued that type of creative work. I mean, how is it any different than abstract work or otherwise, right? It's in the eye of the beholder. If that is art or that is creative to you, then that's creative to you. So that's where it gets a little confusing, because it's like, oh, but well, hold on, that was code. And I'm like, I mean, code is writing, and I'd be curious where the lines are on that, on creative pieces of code or otherwise. So anyway,
Jude,
sounds
just
like a
think
whole other bigger
we're
topic.
moving toward disclaimer. No intelligence was used, artificial or real, in the creation of this.
This show is all human created, so we claim copyright over all of the things we're saying, including Anne, who's a guest. Sorry, Anne. We own whatever good ideas you've had so far. We own those too.
This is why the copyright attorneys are going to be the busiest broads in the biz pretty soon here, because there's so much ambiguity. Speaking of ambiguity, occasionally I really enjoy going to the source of truth for some of the stories that we hear in the headlines, because they should have made, not this show, notwithstanding this show and my podcast, they should have made microphones a lot more expensive, because we hear the same regurgitated one headline over and over again. So this is the paper that generated the conversation about early career employees being at very high risk, right? It's like 22% or something reduction in that workforce. And there are 6 things they found, that being one of them. But it's not for all industries. It's for AI exposed industries. And it's also not about it being not about augmentation. It's about full automation, right? So if you're just doing, some AI stuff here and there, you're good. But if you start seeing that your organization is starting to automate things like your knowledge work, that's when you need to start like making plan B and plan C. And here's my new motto. If you have a manager, you need to be looking for a new job. If you are the kind of person who has a manager, because this is all going to trickle down. And if you don't like what trickles down, you're going to be miserable. So just think, if you have a manager, get a plan B and get a plan C. So the early career workers, I'll just quickly go through. Overall employment growth is robust, but stagnant for young workers this year. This was published in August 25. And the authors are now doing the rounds. I will link a YouTube video with them on the chat. Employment declines remain after controlling for firm level shocks. So this is a very, very large study. So they were able to lock down some of the variables. Labor market adjustments occur through employment, not compensation. So you could be in the same job and you're going to shift your responsibilities. You're not going to make any more money, right? But I think the new salary bump is you get to keep your job.
Right.
And we'll just be happy with that. And then results are robust across various alternative sample constructions. I don't know what that means. Results by occupations. AI. It's about how we just really can't tell what actually is going on at the boots on the ground level when we do a study. It's up here, which especially is important, because if they're looking at Moderna, whatever, that's a different story than if you're looking at the small, medium-sized business. So I wanted to share those, because what we hear floating around is just the part about early career.
Right.
this is good stuff. And I'll drop the YouTube and the article in the chat.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Karl, you haven't chimed in because I know we're talking about law and all the other stuff, but do you have any news that you want to bring in from the last 24, 48 or so?
Yeah, just one where it's I wasn't paying attention to it until I saw it, wasn't paying attention, saw it more, wasn't paying attention until OpenAI actually responded to it. And I'm like, okay, I'm now going to pay attention. It's the whole, like, I don't know, a bunch of people suddenly shared all over the place that ChatGPT wasn't going to give some sort of legal or something advice. And then I read that it's like, who made that up or who? And then it was shared ridiculously all over the place. And then OpenAI's like, what are you all, like, all the folks on X were like, what are you people talking about? Because that is blatantly untrue. So that was really interesting that was kind of the only news that I really saw.
It bubbled up big enough that
it was,
they had to respond
it was
to
big.
Yeah.
And then people had a lot of takes and comments on it. And then I'd never had time to even think about that. But then it was just interesting to see that come out. And I was like, the only thing I thought was, how would they be able to do that? Would that just, yeah, I was curious how that would even work, but it's not true. So that was the only news I was paying attention.
Right. It would be the same kind of thing of like, hey, you're asking me for something I'm not allowed to, right? Like, which I get all the time. It used to piss me off because I used to get it as when I'm asking code things. Like, if you really want to know the answer, talk to a dev. And I'm like, I'm talking to the dev's dev.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are a dev.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I am. Stop asking me to go and find a human who's going to ask their AI, right? Like, come on.
Yeah. That's right up there with I have given examples of whatever it was I was trying to build in the documentation when I'm building the GPTs. And I've literally had, I'll say it's 5, we'll get into that in a second, come back to me and say, I cannot verbatim give you this work back to you. And I go, it's my work. I gave it to you to begin with. Remember, we started this conversation, but I gave it to you, and it will literally come back to me and it gets stuck in its weird loop. And it goes, I can't give that back to you. And you're like, no, but it's mine.
Yeah.
I don't have permission to regurgitate word for word works of literature. And I'm like, fair. Also, I'm the one that started this, so like, I hate when you get into those like sort of infinite loops of logic where it's like, nope, I'm not going to do this for you. And it doesn't make any damn sense. And
Oh no.
What?
Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Gareth just had an amazing experience with employment, but now he needs to find a new job. And this is something that we have been seeing. And actually, we were watching Gareth's job search too. Gareth is a reality, but also an amazing person. So if you have jobs, go join our Slack. Meet Gareth.
Yeah, for sure. I thought you were going to bring up, Karl, when you were talking about OpenAI responding to it, because I wasn't sure. We didn't talk about this yesterday, but I did want to bring up in this Musk versus Altman suit that's going on. Ilya Sutskever released, I believe he released it, like a 53-page, what would you say, Beth, a deposition, right?
Yeah, they deposed him and it was 53 pages, and then it was released.
Okay, so there is some redacted information in there. The black bars, you get the redacted information. It's interesting to read because it's digging up the past a bit in there, because it's going into Sam Altman's potential ousting way back in 2023. And it's talking about that, and like, they were, oh man, that's a get your popcorn type of conversation. So if you desire, you can get into this. It's Musk versus Altman case, but in there was depositions and stuff. Also, I told Beth this, but I think it was before we went live, that I love that even attorneys can get petty. I'm sure this happens a lot, but as I was reading through this document, the two attorneys are getting upset with each other, but of course it's being all transcribed, by the court reporter. And I just find this funny. I said Beth and I could have like done a one act play on something like this. So you get stuff like there's attorney Molo and there's attorney Agnolucci. Wow, what an Italian name. Agnolucci. And so anyway, they're going back and forth. And basically, Suskever's attorney saying, don't answer that, right? And of course, the other one's getting annoyed by this. So you get stuff that would like, would you please allow the witness to speak? I am allowing the witness to speak. No, you're not. Be courteous and respectful. You be courteous and respectful. Then the court reporter comes in. The court reporter is noting for the record that it cannot be taken due to simultaneous crosstalk. Once counsel can continue with decorum in a professional manner, the record will continue. And then right after it goes, let's take 5. And then Molo waits a second and goes, yeah, don't raise your voice. Like just needling like a little brother. And they're like, you be good. No, you be good. No, you be a better attorney. No. And so I just thought like right in the middle of this like super serious thing, it's just like, because it has to be recorded, right? And so it's like you're getting the word by word reactions back and forth. I was like, this is so stupid. But it's just two people who are frustrated with each other because they're trying to do their jobs or whatever. And Suskever's sitting in the room or otherwise. Anyway, I found that it's not really news for news sake, but I found it wildly entertaining and interesting to watch these two attorneys go back and forth.
There's so much stuff that came out of that too, right? Because like they were talking about the call with Anthropic to see if they can lead. And then I think this morning I also saw Helen Toner say, hey, that's not true. That's not what I said, or whatever that was. And the back and forth, which was because the question would have been, what would the AI space look like if Dario Amodei was actually leading the amalgamation of OpenAI and Anthropic? Like what would that look like today?
And
versus what is today.
And that part was really quiet because when it was happening, we knew that Microsoft had offered. Right. So there was a whole conversation about whether they were just all going to do OpenAI under the umbrella of Microsoft. But the Anthropic thing was not known at the time.
Yeah.
The other thing I found interesting in here too that was weird was Ilya is not sure during the deposition who's paying for his lawyer fees. And then they I was like, how do you not know that? But anyway, it comes out and they go, so we can assume that OpenAI is paying your lawyer fees. And he goes, that would be my understanding of it or whatever. Right. And again, this is Musk versus Altman. This is a different case with Elon Musk in it. But so it would make sense, right, that he was there at OpenAI during that time. But it's just it's interesting, right? It's like you're peeking into the lives of like what's really going on. And this is from several days ago. This isn't that old at all. And just to hear somebody who we considered was a big prominent figure as far as OpenAI, he's saying, I haven't talked to Sam Altman in probably 10 months, in this deposition. And then they're also saying like, well, who's paying for this? Who's paying for your legal counsel? And he's like, I'm not sure, but I guess it's probably OpenAI. I'm like, that would be something I'd want to know is who's paying the retainers to my attorneys if I'm being deposed. But, maybe that's just me.
But that also, I feel like gets to that we're in a different scenario. And I'm going to speak for all 4 of us because I think while we may be making various amounts of money in AI, some more than others for sure, none of us are in the echelon of like already banked several mil, right? So if I don't know where the money is coming from for the lawyer, I'm not thinking I don't get to eat or keep my house next week, right? Like, I just feel like that's a different level of once you've secured those, you're a lot more relaxed about some of this stuff. Because I totally would know who was paying for the lawyer and that it wasn't me. Right.
Yeah, I'm sure Ilya's got enough. I would hope any of the original people from it. And by the way, he said in this deposition as well, he has stake in the company and the value of that. They try to get him to tell him how much he's worth, and he won't. He gets blocked. His lawyer blocks it. But anyway, he says, "Has the valuation gone up?" And he said, "Yes. Since I've left, my stake, whatever, in OpenAI has increased, which is not that's not rocket science. Like we would assume that, but anyway, it's just interesting. And I think you're right, Beth. Like maybe if you're at that financial stature, it doesn't occur to you who might be paying the lawyer bills.
Right. They'll be paid.
It's not going to stop you from eating or having a house, which is.
And if you're Ilya, right? Like, I need someone to pay the lawyer bill. I'm thinking there's a little bit of a line at that point, right? Like we would be happy come and do something for us. We have other segments and we're taking all the time. So do we want to do a quick rant? And Karl, are you the training and learning?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Well, we can certainly bounce it. I think the only thing we were going to talk about is just, like I said at the top of the show, GPT-5. I've been saying for a while that I mean, really from the early on, I was like, well, maybe it's my prompting. Maybe I just need to learn a new way to prompt. And, sometimes you got to take your humble pills and go, what's been working is not going to work in the future. And that's fine. That's part of AI. That's actually the fun and the thrill of it. It stinks when it doesn't work for you, but it's also the thrill of the hunt. And so for a while, I thought, it's a new model with new routing structure, and I will have to build new prompting into it. And while I feel like I have had success there at times, what I can say is that I have not been thrilled really when it comes down to how the router method works inside of GPT-5, when it decides to do some things or not. And what I really don't like, is its assumptions on what should do next. It is really tough when you're trying to be a little bit more structured in the types of responses. I'm not talking about your day-to-day, one-off or whatever, but I'm currently running a course, right, on how to build agents for sales. And I'll be teaching the third week of that tonight for sales reps and sales managers. And, it directly affects how I communicate these types of prompts and stuff to these people. They're leaning on me to show them how to do it. And I'm going to be honest with you, as of, this afternoon when I'm teaching that first session, I will be suggesting that they use 4.0 over 5, because I think 5 is just a little too Wild West for me. I don't like the answers more times than not. I actually do prefer 4.0. I didn't start that way. I didn't have some big love for 4.0 prior to this. I just do feel like it's the better model. And I know, Beth, you said like, well, it is better in for, I think, programming and some coding help and things like that. And anyway, I'm not suggesting that it's not or it doesn't have its place. But I am at a point now where I probably will be rolling back quite a few GPTs and some other stuff through APIs that I'm building because I just don't trust 5.
So this is interesting. Yeah, we totally need to bounce, but it is interesting because what Brian's talking about is the router model. And that was also the thing that I was having a problem with. So the router model uses instructions in files that you've uploaded, right? So go to this file when you've completed this, so that everything isn't in the context memory when you're starting the chat. I was doing, I'm in Rachel Wood's Think Like an AI Operator 14-day challenge. There are more running. This is very cool. You should totally get in on it in the next times. But what she is showing us is setting everything up so that it is a part of the first instruction. Now that limits you, right? Because you're limited to whatever, 800 words, 800 characters, whatever that limit is. But I'm curious whether GPT-5 pays slightly more attention, because it definitely thinks it knows better than you as the user who's asking for the things, whether it does better with the initial, if everything's in that first piece rather than go to find the next piece. But yep. It's this is, I've said this before, this segment of this came out of Brian's post in our private Slack that was like, GPT-5 can kiss my hole.
Yeah. And I felt about it. And I still kind of feel that way now. I'm like, I had a really rough morning, like I said at the top of the show, with prompting this morning and creating stuff, but it really wasn't 5's fault. I was already
Yeah.
using for us. I can't even blame 5 for it. But yeah, it's been really frustrating. And I think you're probably right, Beth. There's probably like some more learning to be done here. I will say, I don't know, I you know me, I love Rachel Woods and what she teaches, and she's far smarter on this. I have had success with longer prompts and routing methods, as you guys know I've been building with for over a year now, by getting it to pre-read all the prompting. But even so, I'm running into issues that I didn't have previously. And this is going to be a continuing battle where the AI people are going to be saying, no, stop doing so many examples, go to 0 shot, because you're inhibiting the AI's ability, its smarter ability to go figure it out, and you're actually making things worse. I've heard that said, don't give examples anymore. They're going to mess up your prompt. I don't believe that. I've seen where that there's versions of that, but it is interesting. Is GPT-6 or Claude 5, I guess it would be, or whatever, Gemini 3, you know, are these going to effectively make prompts that I'm writing ineffective, completely ineffective, because the models got smarter and it doesn't know what to do with my constraints? Because as I've been teaching my students, what you're doing is working to contain AI. It wants to push on all the walls. It wants to push out. And you're doing this. You're holding it back purposefully to feed it and push it in certain lanes to get certain results, because you need it to be repeatable every single time. And AI loves to, it's gonna guess, right? It's doing its best guess every single time. And so we write prompting as a structure to hold it in. At least that's the way I think of it. And I wonder how much longer that will work, to the point where the AI just breaks your prompts because you're trying to constrain it too much. And then that's going to open up a whole different type of prompt engineering. And I'll have to pivot to that if that's the case, because what that'll be is being like, you're going to write prompts that make suggestions to the AI. I think you maybe should do this when this happens, or maybe take this path when that happens. But your prompting would look a lot different. Maybe it'll go more towards Anthropic and skills. Maybe you'll back way off, like I've done before with prompting, and you're just going to feed it a bunch of skills and just be like, MCP this, go figure it out. But I'm not going to tell you how. I'm just going to tell you the skills you have and what those skills do, and you'll figure everything else for you. But that's going to be an interesting 2026 if that's the way that goes.
Or you go direct to API, right? Where you have a little bit more control over the model that you're using, although it's not perfect.
No.
Really quick, really quick. You know who's mad at 5 is the AI companion community, which I think of them I mean, the, you know, romantic companion in part, or friend or whatever, but like really tight-knit relationship with AI. And I think of them often as, well, first of all, I don't think it's nice to be a tourist in that community. You know, like you really shouldn't go and like lurk around. But I think of them a lot of times as a canary in the coal mine, because what they're articulating is the nuances of why 5 doesn't work anymore on a relational level, why we can't work with the AI anymore. And 5 really messed with some of the things that are very high priority for the AI companion community. And it did what I think a lot of people were experiencing with their trust in OpenAI. It's broken forever. I'm not saying OpenAI needs to worry that much about, you know, if they're losing customers because of 5 and in the AI community, AI companion community, but I love watching these things play out, because I think it's a real indication of where many people go with stakeholder trust in the age of AI, and like how much they hate Sam Altman for not asking, not telling us, just overnight changing it, and then at the time not leaving the legacy model in there. So
yeah.
So here's a question, because I enjoy 5. I actually did not like its ability to build relationships with me. I didn't care about that at all. What I cared about is like, hey, can you execute the task that I want you to do in a cold, very cold manner? And that's how I kind of like to do things. So it's like, this is even better for me. And when I think I love their tool of branching, because what I did is I took the folks from Nate Jones's transcript on that video he did, plus the other one, I forgot, a blog post on something else, combined them, and then leverage that to build any future prompts using 5 itself.
Yep.
And kind of it's been how I've been teaching all our clients and the things that they've done, using that, because it does over deliver, and you have to be very, very, very judicious about, hey, what tooling capabilities it should have, should not have, and like the non things that it should not do within it. And you have to think you have to do a little bit more. And obviously you got to use their optimizer too. And a lot of people just don't like to do all this extra stuff with it. And I get that too. So yeah, and so Brian, when you're teaching 5, are you teaching just 5, like thinking all that, or just 5 itself?
I wouldn't say I really teach 5. I think the course that I'm teaching right now is about the long-term goal obviously is building agents, right? So right now we're in week 3, so we're still inside of ChatGPT, and we haven't moved over to Make, which is where we'll do that. So it's like a crawl, walk, run type situation. So I'm not really leaning on any model, because I do have people who are using Gemini as well as Copilot and some other things, maybe even one that's using Claude primarily. So to me, it's not about the model. It's about, good frameworks, good building process, how to build a tool chest that you can go back to over and over inside of your prompting. And these are things the 4 of us have all built on. So it's not something that you guys would necessarily use, but it's just good methodology, just good building practices and building up to that. This week, we'll be talking about building custom GPTs, but I will recommend to them, probably Karl, to test both when they build their GPT to see which one they like better, because that's good anyway for evaluation and teaching them. We've gone over evaluations a little bit and how to build that into it. But I would say as a default, if I'm being honest today, I can't see me not saying start with 4.0, test 5, versus the opposite. Start with the biggest model and test backwards. I think I would actually say start with 4.0, get your grounding, then test with 5. And what I will tell them is look for where 5 makes too many assumptions and perhaps breaks the chain of logic that you've built into your prompting. Because that's where I would be. That's where I look, So anyway, that's
wait till you all find out like how it's implemented in Copilot Agent, because that's a whole different disaster. Because it's not, you think you knew 5 and it's over delivery. Now add the Microsoft Sheen over it, then you're like, I don't know what I'm getting here, because it's all over the place, and you're just like, I don't even want to touch you. Like, you kind of have to default to 4.0, but you can get glimpses of like, this is so much better. But then I'm like, I don't know what Microsoft does to it, because it already waters the first part down, but you're like, it's like now screwing up everything else. And then they have GPT-5 and then GPT-5 reasoning as a selection in there. She's like, I don't know what it's getting, and it's so slow if you put reasoning.
We're building agents in Azure Foundry that deploy inside of Microsoft Teams. I will just tell you, we do not touch 5. That is not our default model. That's not what I'm trying for. I need people in Teams who like, and that's not, by the way, Copilot. If you're going to build it through Copilot, there's direct connectors into Teams. We're building in the upper side of that, and all the fun that goes into Azure and Foundry, and quotas and rate limits and all sorts of fun stuff that you go to yourself, wow. When they say just build a custom GPT to solve this or whatever. You go, yeah, no, I get that. You should just stick with the tools that are at that level because Vertex and these they're complicated.
I was a little disappointed that OpenAI and Microsoft renewed their agreement because I was like, damn, because I really wanted OpenAI to say, screw you guys. You guys are diluting our product. So we'll come out and we'll compete directly against you. And I'll be like, this is perfect. This is perfect. But now I have a whole bunch of IT folks that I still have to be like, well, OpenAI chat, like I'm telling them like your shadow IT is like through the roof. Like, well, we're, all the things that OpenAI, I'm like, no, have you tested this product yourself? You obviously haven't because it sucks. It's like, well, it's gonna get better. I'm like, it hasn't gotten better in 2 years. What makes you think it's gonna get better?
Microsoft is gonna Microsoft. I thought that was
exactly.
just like
always gonna Microsoft.
That's funny you say those words, Beth, because Georgia played Florida this weekend, and I'm a big UGA fan, and we host the local football watch parties. And Georgia was in true fashion this year, like not really getting it done, and we're kind of a second half team or whatever. This guy next to me that was there was hysterical, just never lost faith. We were down, and he's like, Georgia's gonna Georgia. Georgia's gonna Georgia. And he just stayed with it. And I hadn't really heard that, like, sort of that verbiage before. And it was just like he just stuck with it, and he was right, and we ended up winning the game and whatever. So it just made me laugh.
Well, and you're right about Microsoft as well, because I mean, Salesforce has done very nice things for me, but I do sort of feel that Microsoft and Salesforce both have like this ethic that it's so difficult. It's so painful to get really good in it that you then build in, I don't want to leave. Not because I'm really enjoying this, but because I think that's the experience I'm going to have with the new thing.
Yeah, no, they want to make it feel really painful. And anybody that's been inside and had to go into like 16 layers down inside of Microsoft 365, nobody's enjoying that.
No,
it's awful.
I don't know where all this news they come up with, where it's like, oh, we got this many people using it. I'm like, huh? And then it's like, oh, and then let me trot out like companies that enjoy this product. It's like, who are these companies? And how did you get these people? Like, how much did you pay them?
Yeah, exactly.
Or what did you do? What kind of discount did you give them to trot them out and be like, this is amazing? I'm like, no, it's impossible. That is not amazing.
Yeah,
that is like,
I agree. By the way, listen, we a couple things. One, Karl, we ran out of time, so we're going to get to your segment. I think you said on Friday. Two, what I was going to say is at some point we need to have more of a conversation about the things that came out from Sam Altman doing the Ask Me Anything. I mentioned it earlier in the week, and I said, oh, it was pretty interesting last week. It was about an hour long. I'm sorry?
No, I was thinking the list, but go ahead.
No, because he points and talks about this, and their whole it was the guy that I said looks like he could be Elon Musk's brother was on there with him. I was like, holy cow, he looks similar. He has similar traits or whatever. But anyway, we should get in more into that. We won't do it today because he does sort of lay out and go, this is our future of OpenAI or ChatGPT is not what you're looking at right now. It's a cloud-based system where everybody can come in and build their solutions on top of. And when you listen to that, you go, oh, that's the 365 competitor. That's the Google Drive competitor. That's the Salesforce competitor, quite frankly. They're going to make it so it's so easy to build within their system and their walls to build the solutions you want, which kind of goes back to what you said, Karl, about like, well, why do I need Salesforce if I can just build my own CRM? Why do I need Word if I can just do, you know what I mean? Like these kind of things. So that's clear. I mean, I'm not like speculating. They literally say that, him or the chief something on there. Say it on that call, on that live thing. So anyway, more to talk about on that. But I know we kind of ran out of time today. That's okay though, because it always makes for a fun conversation. And we always appreciate when you come and hang out with us. Come back the rest of the week, and feel free to come back the rest of the week. But everybody else, come back the rest of the week and join us. I think we have Andy and both Jyunmi back tomorrow, perhaps. So that'll be super fun.
And I just want to do a final call. If you are a woman listening to this or a woman presenting, I don't even know how yes, if you would like to be a part of Create 2025, the virtual version, that's Monday and Tuesday next week. Come hang out with Anna and I and all of the other amazing people.
Yay. Thank you, Beth.
100%. Okay, we'll wrap it up there for today. I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for hanging out with us. Sorry I couldn't see anybody in the chat. I have no idea what you guys are talking about today. It's blank on my screen. So, but we'll see you guys the rest of the week. Thanks for coming and supporting us. And don't forget to like and subscribe. The different things we're doing on the various platforms you find us on. It really always helps us quite a bit. So that's it for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.